Hi, good morning. Let's get going on this. I've decided to do it a slightly different way today in that I'm going to look at it first time and give you my views as a first time. Usually I will look at it, go through it, look at the balance of it, and pick out various points and then come back to it and record my thoughts. I would try this time just to look at it as a viewer, seeing it once only and then commenting on it. So let's get going.
Hello, I'm Sam Waddington and welcome to Winchester News Online. Here are today's headlines. Southampton has been named one of the most polluted cities in the UK. A verdict is expected soon on the Emile Cilliers case. And preparations begin as Winchester's annual Christmas market returns.
It's a thing that when friends come, they always get excited and you say, oh yes, and then you go and it's got a sort of ting.
Southampton.
Right, okay, we've got an issue again. The fact that I thought I was going to say that, what a great start that is. That's 3 good headlines. You've got some decent pictures. Whoever's covered the court story, well done, because you've got the protagonist turning up at court. So that's good news. But you've cut out of the sound of the upsort of the woman who's talking. A, the sound is rubbish, and B, you've cut out of her early because your timings are wrong. So again, we've got an issue of what's going on in the gallery and the timings of coming out of packages. So it's a bit disappointing.
Too dangerous to breathe, according to a new report by the World Health Organization. But what is being done about it, and are local people aware? Camilla Dahl reports.
Good, you've set up a decent story. And I understand what is about to come, and I have an expectation. So let's see what the package is like now.
Southampton's port is a hive of activity, handling many thousands of vehicles a year and being dubbed cruise capital of the UK. Yet with all this business comes at a high cost, as ships are heavily polluted. A new report by the World Health Organization has named Southampton as one of the top 7 most polluted cities in the UK, equaling London's exposure levels. Although estimates vary, Southampton City Council says that the port could contribute to up to 23% of the city's pollution.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop there. We've got to be careful about what we say, obviously legally. These are huge accusations being borne by the port. And when we are criticising someone or pointing a finger at someone, like we've done the lorry drivers, or the lorries in that first shot, then we've got an issue about recognition, about blaming people, about identification. So you have to be very careful legally about what we are trying to say here.
However, the port is a vital part of the local area's economy.
We have a lot to do with ABP, who do a lot of international shipping. I know Red Funnel is important not just to Southampton's economy, but also for the Isle of Wight, because, well, they're an island, aren't they? So there's not many ways of getting goods over to them. We are one of the main ways of doing that.
Another big issue in the city is vehicles, including lorries and buses. The council is looking at ways to tackle the problem.
This is much better because you've really thought about the way you've shot it. And what I've noticed so far in this package is the number of different shots in it, which makes it much more refreshing to watch. It's flowing much better.
Coming in, we have an air quality zone, which comes in 2019, late 2019, and that will basically bring in the requirement to either drive in a new diesel or a petrol electric or a petrol vehicle, or alternatively pay a fee to enter the city.
Now we need just a little bit of sound coming up of this lorry coming off the ferry. while you're underlaying over the pictures.
We imagine that most commercial operators will give us their newest, poshest, nicest vehicles and then drive to Southampton, and the older, more polluting ones will go somewhere else, which doesn't solve the problem as a country, but it does help us.
The exposure levels are responsible for 110 premature deaths in Southampton each year and cost the local NHS £50 million. In fact, over 6% of premature deaths in the city are solely due to air pollution. Yet many locals are
And at this stage, I think you need to say, according to somebody. You have to attribute this to somebody, where you've got your facts, where they are from.
Yeah.
Really nice graphics, though, by the way, and I quite like the way you've made it really pure and white in a juxtaposition, sort of the dirt of the air that people are supposedly breathing.
Hampton is one of the 7 most polluted cities in the UK. Is it? Yeah. How do you feel about it? So people are quite surprised. I didn't expect it's like that bad.
That's mad. It's mad. I'm quite shocked actually.
How can you do your bit to kind of change that?
I walk a lot, so I'm doing my bit already.
I've got a driving license, but I don't drive. I'm always using a lift, so I think we're supposed to use the public transport, just so we don't need to get so many cars on the road.
Catch buses more, walk. I walk more anyway because I live in the town centre.
With new rules on vehicles set in place by 2020, this should provide some positive change. Camilla Dahl, Winchester News Online.
Yeah, there's a really good array of pictures. We've listened to a lot of people. You've thought about it. We've got the council. We've got the port. I think I would like to know a little bit more about the research that has highlighted Southampton as being in the 7th. And as I said before, you need to attribute where this comes from. But otherwise, there's a really good range of pictures and voices. With your Vox Pops, I'd rather that you didn't go back to the same person on the street twice. We hear from them once and then we move on. So if you do want to ask or use different questions from this, then you need more people to have spoken to get their opinions, and then you can use the sort of different answers that reflect what you want rather than going back to the same person twice with different answers, if you understand what I mean.
Judge Justice Sweeney is still summing up the case of the man accused of attempting to murder his wife by sabotaging a parachute. Emile Cilliers denies trying to kill his wife. Joseph Shaw reports.
That's a good, it's a fair enough link. Basically, people will want to know what the verdict is. So even just a little line like this, we might not, in a usual instance, actually package this, and we might just be a line saying the judge is summing up in the case because we've heard all the evidence. But I'll wait to see this package and then I'll be able to comment more.
Emile Cilliers, seen here on the left arriving at Winchester Crown Court today, is accused of 2 counts of attempted murder. First by causing a gas leak, endangering his wife Victoria and their children, and secondly by sabotaging his wife's parachute, causing her to fall 4,000 feet. Against odds of lower than 1%, she survived the fall. The prosecution claims Emile was abusive and contemptuous to his wife. The jury was told that he owed her money and would also receive £120,000 from a life insurance payment. Victoria's death would also allow him to continue an affair with a woman that he met on Tinder. Cilliers admitted lying to the 3 women he was seeing, even telling one of them that his son with Victoria was not his, and that he didn't really feel connected to him.
Just remember, and we get this during many court cases, if you haven't got pictures, this is where we get shots of what we call guilty buildings. So we've got exteriors of the court, because obviously we can't go inside the court, but there have been pictures used inside the court that may be released to you as a reporter that you can use to illustrate your piece. Otherwise, we end up with these shots of guilty buildings, i.e. the exterior of the court.
Emile was being portrayed as a pantomime villain, that despite his lies and so-called financial incontinence, he was a good...
Now, he he hasn't got financial incontinence. That incontinence is something slightly different. Incompetence, I think, is the word that you want to use there.
Who cooked for his family and did DIY around the house. Today, the jury, consisting of 9 women and 3 men, are expected to be sent out to consider their verdict. Joseph Shaw, Winchester News Online.
And one of my bugbears, there's only one jury, so the jury goes out to consider its verdict, okay? Not their verdict, it's its verdict because it's one jury. Look, I think it's a summation of the story so far, which basically I think stems from the fact that we're doing Winol once a week, so I understand why it's being used, but I think you need to know that if this was a day when the judge was summing up, which is what he's doing, and then he's going to send out the jury, it's probably a line with a bit of underlay, so maybe with a bit of upshot, but that is it. It would probably just be the shots of the defendant turning up at court saying the judge is summing up rather than doing a package. But as a package itself, I've told you about its limitations. Joseph, I think your pieces to camera are good, and as long as they are a proper summation of the court reports, then they are legally binding as well, so that's fine.
Drivers in Winchester know how tough it can be to park around the city. Shahad Kalra drove out to see what's happening.
I think we're a bit limited there. I think what is the reason we are doing this story? And we've got a line, and then here's our reporter Shahad. Well, actually, I need to know more of what's happening setting up this story.
Parking in Winchester can be difficult, especially when it's Christmas time.
Yeah, the only time I have found it difficult has been at Christmas, and I can remember having to sort of park quite a way away and kind of walk in and that sort of thing. But aside from that, it's generally quite good, I think.
I think Winchester is a really busy town, especially around Christmas time. I think there should be more parking.
I don't think there's enough of it, really. And that, like, most of the time you're limited to, like, 4 hours maximum. Otherwise you have to pay a lot of money.
Park and ride buses make it easier for visitors to get access into the city without having to deal with finding spaces. But what if you do need to drive into the city itself? With the Park Winchester mobile app, commuters and visitors are able to get real-time information, helping them choose the right car park. We asked drivers in Winchester to come and take a look at the application and let us know their thoughts.
It says a safety warning of don't use the app while driving. When else are you going to use it?
Yeah, if you had hands-free, then
But even that wouldn't work.
true.
It would
It
just
doesn't.
be.
It doesn't.
No, it's not.
No, it doesn't.
It's just
I
not
feel like
practical.
it's not really needed. Or if it does, actual advertising.
I can understand it if someone's coming into Winchester and they kind of need to know where the car parks are. But at the same time, most road users know how to follow signs because the car parks all have signs to them. And then
It's
also,
one way, so you go past like all the car parks anyway.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's just not really needed, I don't think. I wouldn't use it.
No, I wouldn't use it.
I definitely wouldn't.
Though our focus group didn't love the application, the people behind it are hoping it will be a big success.
This car park is one of the many included in the Park Winchester application. Right now, there are about 357 spaces available. However, if you're looking for a more central car park, you may find some struggle, but Winchester City Council provides live traffic boards around the one-way system. Expect to see more park and ride buses around the city in the upcoming week to cope with the income of visitors for the Christmas market. This is Charlotte Colra with Winchester News Online.
Okay, I think, well, so the story is there's a new app. So a new app has been launched by the council to help ease the parking issue around the city. I think that is your story. Look, I think the idea of getting 3 students together around the as a sort of focus group is fair enough. But, and I know you've done it in the studio, to me, it would be better doing that in a car park. Because that is obviously putting them in the story rather than this rather dry studio with a poor backdrop. I'm sure it took you a lot of effort to actually get them in the studio and to set it up and then to shoot it. But the difficulty is it just takes away from the flavour of the story. And I think the line is, here's a new app, this is going to help you to park, rather than slightly backwards the way that you've told this story. The first bloke says, well, it's bad at Christmas, but the rest of the time it's okay. And then I don't know whether you set up other people to say, oh, actually it's terrible. My view is that we haven't quite editorially got what the story is. And if it is that the app has just been launched, then let's talk to the council about why they've set it up, the need for it, and how many parking spaces are there in Winchester that can be used? How many cars come into the city every day? So some idea of putting this into perspective. While there is a decent range of shots and you've spoken to a good number of people, just think editorially how you could have told this story a little bit better.
Books, Tea and Dances. This year marks the 200th anniversary of Jane Austen's death. A book written in her honour was launched on Monday in Eastleigh. Our community reporter Rebecca Adosin went to the event.
Okay, I was slightly concerned. Books, tea and something else. And then your next sentence doesn't quite link up with Jane Austen, but we're sort of there. Let's hear what Rebecca's got to say.
From Pride and Prejudice to Persuasion to Emma, Jane Austen has left a long-lasting impression on the world of literature. Now, a book written in her honour, Jane Austen's England, A Walking Guide, pays tribute to Jane's love for walking and the places she enjoyed visiting.
She loved walking. She called herself a desperate walker. And she had to walk. They were not rich. So she walked to shop, visit her friends, and she also walked for pleasure.
At the event, Jane Austen's fans had the opportunity to ask the author any burning questions. The mayor, who was also at the launch, told us about how the 200th anniversary of Jane's death has made this a unique mayoral term.
Jane Austen's effect this year has been phenomenal, with the Guildhall, with Winchester Cathedral, which has been absolutely fantastic, with the launch of the new £10 note, with the cathedral on it and Jane Austen. It's been a fantastic year.
See, that sound is dreadful again. I can hear all the background noise and I wonder whether her personal mic or the mic you were using for her actually works.
This event, and it's certainly been most entertaining listening to her talking about Jane Austen and also the dancers. It was really, really lovely.
Jane's death has also had other influences. The Hampshire Regency dancers also performed dances from Jane's era at the launch.
Nobody had danced these dances for nearly 200 years, so it was, I think, quite right to reintroduce them. They were written there, we could see the music, we could see what was done, but nobody had actually done it. So our task was to bring it to life.
With this year being the 200th anniversary of Jane Austen's death, events like these make sure her legacy lives on. Rebecca Adosin, Winchester News Online, Eastleigh.
What a nice smile to end that piece. Yeah, I can see you as part of the package. That's fine. I feel like you're slightly distant and you're more dressed up than some of the people there. So you need to be a part of it. But you need to be inside rather than like you're dressed up for winter, or because it wouldn't suggest that you've dressed up in a uniform, an outfit, clothing that's 200 years old. So I think, again, you've got to think about putting yourself into various stories, but the way you fit into it, so it doesn't just jump out. You've got to blend into that story. Look, it's a nice story. It's been told pretty well. You've got loads of different pictures. I think technically you've had a few issues. I don't think the sound's very good. It's difficult in a very noisy room. That's why you have to get in very close. And if it means you get a tighter shot and you're getting your boom mic right in close, then do it that way, because it will cut out the background noise. Otherwise, it's really difficult to hear. And I think the lady you heard from on the stage, I would have interviewed her personally as well, if possible, to get all your own stuff as you did with those that you were interviewing afterwards, the author and the mayor. So maybe I would have had a chat with her as well. But otherwise, there's plenty of flavour in this piece. I think you need to say actually what Jane Austen's association with Winchester is. I'm not sure in that package, unless I missed it, that you mentioned that anywhere, and therefore why this was going on in Eastleigh, but also what her impact has been. The reason that she has had such an impact on Winchester.
Work is soon to start at Burrell House, as plans are announced to turn the unused building into a hospice by early 2019. The work is expected to cost £2.5 million, but will be a vital addition to helping patients and families who are going through end-of-life care. A portion of the money is expected to come through fundraisers and donations. Work on the building's roof should begin on Monday.
This is really good. If this follows another just a newsy type story with a bit of underlay, this is really good as part of the news belt. All I'd say about the pictures, and this is a really nice picture. I like the way it's composed, and you've thought about it, and it's autumnal, and it's really, really good. But I would have started with a shot of the building first before I've seen a shot of the sign. I think you've got 2 or 3 shots that just show Burrell House. I think the sign. Sorry if I've got the right name there. Without seeing the building, I'd see the building first because then it puts it into perspective better. Then we can use a shot of the sign. One just thing to note that we may want to use these pictures again, but there would be an issue using it, say, next March, because we've got these leaves here. This dates it. It's absolutely fine now. But if we were to use these pictures again, it would clearly look wrong if we use them in March, because obviously it's not autumn. So I think you need to think about that. But at the moment, that's apart from the 2 little faults, that is a decent story from a news belt.
Delays for commuters again this morning, as there were cattle on the line between Brockenhurst and Ashurst. Delays of up to 10 minutes were expected, though many trains saw longer effects. The train line is already under fire for having more delays since being taken over by South Western Railway earlier this year.
It's a horrible shot that I've seen used in previous packages that's really, really wobbly. We've got better shots of trains, okay?
Southampton's Mayflower Theatre is about to undergo a major change that it hopes will thrill audiences when they come to the shows. This is the well-known turquoise and gold interior, a familiar sight for theatregoers over decades. But soon, a £4 million refurbishment will transform the auditorium into a more traditional red and gold theme.
That is fine. I know that you have overrun. The words are too long for the pictures, but what you've done there is absolutely fine. That's a really good news belt. Well done. You've got 3 different stories from different parts of our region. You've told them well. They're not worthy of a package, and you've put them together and you've got the pictures. That is exactly how a news belt should be. And then when you run out of pictures, you just come into the studio. That's absolutely fine. Sometimes that happens. Obviously, you want to lay, if that's your last story, you can lay those pictures as long as you like. There's no reason that they should be short. So have them long, long, long. But if you do run out of pictures, then come back in the studio. You, Sam, can carry on reading it, which is right, and then you move on to another story.
Art galleries are usually seen as grand exhibitions and can be quite daunting to your average person on the street. However, a gallery in Southampton is trying to change this by connecting more people to contemporary art.
Is that the case? Does it? I don't know.
Jake Callahan reports.
When you think of an award-winning art gallery in a big city, you probably have an image of a grand building with large open spaces inside. But here, the exhibits are inside 2 red foam boxes. It's been nominated for a national award for community-led projects.
There's a lot of good projects up for nomination, but I think it's one that we've previously won a similar award a couple of years ago. We'd be using the money for our 2018 programme, so we programme 4 exhibitions a year, and it would go on volunteer expenses.
Since opening in 2015, the gallery has featured work from over 40 artists based in and around Hampshire, and the importance of the gallery does not go unnoticed. Current artist Peter Driver told Winol that what they are doing isn't making contemporary art accessible to everybody 24/7 is a unique offer, and Southampton should be very proud of it. The K6 Gallery.
It sounded like when you did that, said that they aren't making. You said it isn't making it. So be very careful what you say. It is making it accessible. So be very careful with your voiceover there, because I got completely the opposite end of your argument there.
We're going into battle against some of the most unique and interesting art exhibitions across the country, in an attempt to win £5,000 worth of funding in order to secure the future of this historic telephone box site. Jake Callahan, Winchester News Online, Southampton.
Jake, I think it's a really good story. So, going back to the link, I think we could have made a bit more of a laugh for that. It's definitely bled into the story a lot better, a lot cleverer way, found a cleverer way of getting into this story. And what Jake would need from your package, is more, and I know it's difficult, but more shots inside the telephone box, what we're actually trying to display. And it smacks of, we need vox pops, people going in to see it, or if nobody's going in to see it, then that might be the story itself. You going into it, something, it's quirky, so we've got to try and make our package reflect the quirkiness of the story. But we do need to hear more voices in this, I think, definitely.
All that art in such a tiny space, who would have thought of that? Now from the confines of the telephone box to the great outdoors, where Dan Anderson has the sports.
Well, it was defeat for the Bison on Saturday night, as Swindon ran out 3-1 winners. But first, tennis. Now, it's not exactly the season for strawberries and cream, and you won't be seeing tennis played on courts like these around this time of year. But thanks to an advancement in indoor courts, more and more amateurs can practice their game year-round. We sent Jonathan Leck to the University Tennis Society to find out a little bit more.
Okay, what I like is, you've made an effort to go outside. I mean, your pictures look a bit blue. I'm not quite sure how well white balanced they are. And you've tried to link it. You've thought about a new way of presenting sport and linking it to the story that you're doing. So for that, I appreciate the efforts that you are making.
After a 4th place finish in the league last year, the University of Winchester's men's tennis team is aiming for more this season, with the first team currently 1 point off the top of the table. Head coach Chris Lawson gave us a coach's insight into how the team could improve with different training methods.
To start a session, give them 10 minutes to practice as a match situation, warm up, so they don't just walk on the court and hit for 5 minutes. They actually get themselves warmed up as if they were walking onto a match court. After that, we set them some drills where they do a lot of rallying drills, movement drills, and making sure that they're making as many balls as they can and as fewer mistakes as they possibly can. It's not just about coaching them, it's making the team feel like a team rather than a group of individuals. Playing team matches, it's all about the team and how many wins a team can get.
And with those wins, Chris hopes the team can finish the season in first place, alongside a successful cup run. The captain of the team, Daniel Horsell, feels the squad is up for the task.
It's been going well.
You don't need to introduce him that way, because remember, this is TV. You've just put a strap on him. I know exactly who it is. You can say the team's really excited about the challenge ahead and then go into him rather than mentioning his name. You don't need to. You do it in radio, but not in TV, because look, there's his name.
We've got a lot of members, boys and girls. We've got a really good group of guys this year. We all get on well. We're 1 point off the top of the league, extra top of the league at the moment. We've got them in a couple of weeks' time, so it's a pretty crucial stage of the season right now.
The weather might be too cold for some, but with matches coming in hot and fast, the tennis team are certainly keeping their cool. Jonathan Leck, Winchester News Online.
Jonathan, look, you've got again, there's a good range of pictures here, and you've got little sequences. Right at the beginning, when you've got the coach serving, then going back to get a ball. I notice, and how you've done it, you've got 2 shots in there. You've got him going back to pick up the ball, then you've cut, and you've got him picking up the ball. So you've thought about mini sequences here of what works and what doesn't. So well done on putting this all together. I think your story is that actually Winchester might win something for a change, and they've got some really good tennis players. So maybe that is the story to this, rather than sort of getting more people involved. I think a couple of mixed messages there, but ultimately I think it's, you know, it's a good story.
Saturday night was full of fans. Unfortunately for the Bison, they didn't quite go their way. With the herd taking penalties, Swindon took full advantage, picking up 2 goals.
That is much better, and I think the first time in about 3 years we have got a cutaway of the crowd. Now, I didn't realise, A, how many there were, B, that they dressed up, C, and how excited they got. Thank you for showing me a picture like that for the first time, more or less the first time ever we've been down to the Bison.
Then with seconds to go in the first period, they added a third to their tally. But it wasn't until the third period that this one really heated up, starting with Antonov being on the end of a bad shot. Referee Matthews had no choice but to send the Swindon player for an early shower. The hosts quickly capitalised on their man advantage.
I think when you see that shot of somebody being sent off the ice, then maybe we've got to see them go off. That's, you know, if we can film it in a way that we can see them getting sent off and leaving the ice, then that really explains the story. But the pictures are so much better this week.
It's an exciting finish.
A much better use of replays. You've got a much better angle from the top. We don't see that computer anymore.
But Swindon's goalie stood strong, denying any chance for comeback. The Herd will be looking to get back to winning ways at home on Sunday when they host the London Raiders.
There again, that's just a little black hole there, which is disappointing because it's been so good coming through the studio. But the makeup of that package from the ice was much, much better. You can see yourself how much better it is to watch and how you've improved since the beginning of the semester in just picking out the right pieces, slightly changing your angle, bringing a bit more flavour into the story, and then the way you've used your replay. So it's much, much better.
Because from all over the world gathered in Winchester on Saturday for the city's 6th annual film festival. The competition featured a number of short films screened at various venues around Winchester and ended with an awards ceremony this weekend. Garen Wilcock took to the red carpet to find out more.
That, I now completely understand what I'm going to expect. So again, it's a much better link.
It was a night for celebration on Saturday as Winchester Short Film Festival came to an end for another year. Although it began as a project to support local filmmakers, the competition now receives entries from more than 50 countries around the world.
It's a really good opening, Garen. This is A, good use of pictures at the top, and a B, good, strong voiceover explaining what is going on here.
As I've seen this festival growing, I think this festival is evidence of how storytelling is alive, well, and vibrant.
The evening starts here, with a chance for filmmakers from near and far to come together, become part of a wider community, and possibly come up with some new ideas for next year.
Absolutely,
Literally, we're standing here having a drink.
That's
Being
what
like, right, okay, what have we got for next
That's
year?
what tonight's about, right? Meeting
like,
people,
like
new
develop
scripts, new
notes
ideas.
idea.
Yeah, we do.
In the pipeline.
It was amazing. It was a very intense experience for me. I got to work really closely with the director, which was really exciting, and had a lot of time to be able to really develop and put my own ideas into the role, which doesn't happen that often. So.
Compare this sound, which is it's even noisier as the background than the as a background than the Jane Austen story, and the quality of the sound on this being much better. And okay, she's an actress, so she is projecting better and getting herself heard better, but I can hear it because she is mic'd up better. You've better sound quality without doubt on this.
To be honest, I'm a novelist, and this was my first experience of writing a screenplay based on a short story that I've written, and working with Matt Portman, who is really talented.
But you've got to be careful when you go away from this and have it as the voice going underneath these pictures, then actually you've got to get in closer. And his quality, you see how we're so close to the edge here, the quality of his voice is not as good as hers. That's why you've got to monitor it all the time while you're out and about.
All sorts of things about film that I don't know, but together we've had this great writing and directing collaboration that worked really well. I think that friendship and that sort of creative energy that we had is something that we're going to keep working on and we're going to keep using.
Then it's on to the main event, complete with red carpet, an award ceremony to recognise this year's best films and give people a chance to promote their work. The winners are selected by a panel of esteemed judges, and with 6 awards up for grabs and a wide variety of talent on display, this is where the hard work pays off.
Celebrating a huge array of wonderful, beautiful, thought-provoking films. I think that the best art and the best culture have always been at the forefront of making us see the world differently, of challenging and questioning the status quo.
Mar mór, mar o hyd, yn ifanc, yn hen hefyd.
From simple beginnings, Winchester Film Festival continues to attract filmmakers from all over the world. And now, with plans to incorporate feature films in the future, things are only set to get even bigger. This is Garen Wilcock, Winchester News Online.
Look, really well done. I would like to have seen some of the winners, though, and talk to them and what it means to them and where they may go on for it. But what I probably would have done is taken out that section before your piece to camera where we've seen various bits of the film, albeit those are really interesting and it shows the quality of these films. Clearly, it's not just for a load of amateurs. These are proper short films, really well made. But I'd like some people who win and what it might do and the knock-on effect. It's a prize event after all, and we like to see winners. But otherwise, your voice is really good, Garen. You stand up and done a really good piece to camera. It's a mature piece of work, but I think we've got to have some prize winners at the end. And I think you just need to think slightly more clearly about how you are presenting it and telling the story. But I like the fact that you've been to the pub with some of the filmmakers and the way that's worked. And you get a sense of what this award is about and how it has come about. So from that point of view, there's loads of flavour in this, loads of really good use of pictures, which you'd like from a film award.
And finally, Winchester is getting ready for Christmas with the opening of the annual Christmas market and lantern parade.
Preparations are underway in Winchester as Christmas approaches. Every year, merry events fill the streets with festive visitors. One of the most loved and long-running traditions is the Lantern Parade.
The Lantern Parade has been going now for 7 or 8 years, and it's a really great family event. So families and groups, so the Cubs, the Scouts, and families get to make lanterns at workshops.
I just noticed actually the cathedral was spelt wrong. It's disappeared now, but it was spelt wrong. And we have in our archive got, I think, shots of the Lantern Parade. So unless they're going to come now, I would have thought it's been a good time to actually put them in.
Within the county and then come along and be part of the parade. And it's about the Festival of Light. It's about the start of the Christmas period.
That previous shot, that tilt down, did nothing. It didn't show us anything. And it sort of ended halfway down the tilt. So that was not a good shot.
for us and for families to really enter into the spirit of the Christmas itself.
Smells and sounds fill the air at another favourite and iconic event, the bustling Christmas market.
I think it's really important to Winchester and the Cathedral, particularly the city, but all of us. We all collectively benefit from the visitors.
Some of the city's favourite stalls will be making a return this year, and the people of Winchester are excited.
You first go around the side
That's a better link into a vox pop. That's the way to do it.
cathedral, and there's one full of the smelly things, you know, the dried oranges and the cinnamon and that, and it just smells, it gets you in the mood. And then there used to be, I don't know if it's going to be here this year, one that does beautiful hand-blown Christmas baubles and beautiful things like that. That'd probably be my favourites. Yeah.
The little huts selling their
That's really bleached. Really bleached. I don't know if that's you or in the compression.
And the smell of an old wine and everything like that just before you approach it.
All of a sudden it's Christmas.
Yeah, it's Christmas.
Mulled wine, mince pies and ice skating. Winchester's gearing up for Christmas. Larissa Patience, Winchester News Online, Winchester Cathedral.
I like what you did actually, Larissa, with when your vox pops, you used smells rather than sights and sounds. So actually, that's an interesting way of doing things. But as I said, I think we can use previous pictures of the Lantern Parade and other bits if you want to illustrate this. Otherwise, you know, the good range of shots. From my point of view, the quality doesn't look that good. And I think you need to work on the balancing of your camera, and some shots aren't really very sharp. So be careful how you're shooting this. Look, some of it may be lost in the compression, as I've said, when we upload this. So if in the original it's good and it just gets distorted, then I apologise. But it doesn't look, because some of them look very sharp on some of these packages, but some haven't. So be careful with the lighting, as it were, and the balancing of your cameras.
That's all for this week. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Well, that's a much better bulletin. There's a really good range of pictures. There's a good range of stories. I think some of the time we're not telling them right, as I've said through this. The sound is markedly better, markedly better. There are a couple of bad incidents where it's bad, but it's a huge, huge improvement. And what you are thinking about is the number of shots that we have in packages. Lots and lots of shots in the port and the Southampton Air story. Even on the news belt, we were thinking about our shots. And the range of shots we had in the hospice, and then at the end the number of shots of them getting ready for the fair, the Christmas market. So all in all, things are really picking up, because you're beginning to really think about the pictures that we use and the number of people we talk to, but also it works as a full bulletin too. The fact that you've got a good range of shots from a good number of areas. That's what. Good range of stories from a good number of areas. That's what regional news is about. So you've got that essence. So markedly improved, and well done. Sam, really good presentation as well. So and whoever's been doing the gallery and directing, it's working much better. So we only had one black hole, apart from the headlines at the beginning, where we had a little issue. Otherwise, really well put through the studio. So I'd like to feel that what I've said from last week and previous weeks is really being taken on board. So from that point of view, very well done.